this video, I will show you how to add a custom module to the 2PG dashboard. So what you want to do, what you should do is create the module component. So that is ngGC Angular generate component dashboard slash whatever the test. It's going to be called test, and it's going to be here test module. Just test module. That's what we're going to call it. Okay, so sidebar. Let's add it to the guild sidebar here. So yeah, make sure that it exists here. The guilds test, I guess. So it's going to be called test, and we're going to have just a random icon. This one that'll do. Yeah, test. Save guild.test enabled. Cool. So now we're going to actually add the test. So we want to make a new export class test module extends module. So here we're going to have some properties. So because it's a module, it has the enabled property by default. So we're going to have test, and then that's going to be a string. Why not? So there we go. We can have test2 can be a string, and then test3 can be a number, a number. Okay, so now guild schema, we add this. So test type equals object default new test module. Okay, cool. And then instantiate that. There we go. Then make a new, then add it here under guild document test module. That's what it is. Cool. So now we can restart that. So we have test here, test module. Cool. So now we actually implement it in the dashboard. So test module component implements on init extends module config. Now module config is a class with like a template for a guild module, and then you can read the things here. So I'm just gonna close this. Okay, constructor, obviously it extends a base class, and this constructor requires special things. So we're going to call super. Now what does super take in? What do we need to pass in the constructor? Let's find out. So it requires a guild service. So guild service. It requires a route and a save changes, which is the save changes is the prompt that comes up. So guild service, and let's add these, and then route, activated route, probably gonna move it there, and then save changes. It's weird, I know, that's what the component's called. So test module, so we can just implement the abstract class. So now this is very annoying actually. So build form, we don't want to import that with a string. It's going to return a form group. So what is the form group going to have? Let's import the form group eventually. So the form group saved guild, we want to destructure the test module, which is declared here, the test, or declared here, save guild.test, and then we're going to have new form control, which is a form, I guess, an input. So we're going to add that, close this down. Okay, so the default, we add in the default value, which is test dot. So this is going to be called test1 is the name. So test dot test is confusing. But there we go, test.test2, test.test3. So one's a number, as you can see. We're going to have some validation here. So we can add some validation if we want, validators.min. So the min number is 0. And then we can add one here. So I'll probably do a select here. You can also do validators.required, and then you can have multiple of them. Validators.minLength. So the minimum length is 1 or 3. We'll do 3 characters in length for a string. That's good. And then the test2, we'll just make that required. Sure. Cool. So now we have a form. So it returns this and sets the value. The default value, if there is none set, we'll also set that. Test2, test, just test. We're using the word test a lot. Okay, default value 0, I guess. So void, we can set that to 3. So void, so async, it returns void, it shouldn't just do that. So now we're gonna type await super, base class, dot init. Now what super.init does is it gets all the data from the API, saves it, and makes it ready to use in this module config. That's what we want. So one last thing, I believe. So module name is test. That is the name of the module we're going to be saving. Now that looks good. We have our first form here. So we're also going to add that in here. So what we do is we're going to type. See how they did it here. So we have a guild sidebar. Oh, I did it in here. Guild sidebar. We don't need that. That's good enough. Guild sidebar, and then we have a form here. So we have an ng form. Cool. So an ng form that points to this form right here, which is saved. That is the form. So then we add a map form control, which is Angular material. Appearance outline, that's just how it looks. And then we're going to have input, type text, this is going to be name1, test1, form control name, it's going to be a text input, equals test, just test will do. So we also want a mat label that says test. We're going to copy this 3 times. There we go, so test2, test, we can add a space if we want, test3, so this is going to be a select. So mat select, just to show you the varieties that we can have. Form control name goes on the input, and that will be of test2. And this is going to be a number, so test3. There we go. So we're going to call this. We're going to have the mat option, and then we have value equals. Some string, I guess, and then we call it this. I guess we can have it a number based option. Why not? Run out of ideas. So it will be like a string number. I don't know. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there we go. There's a select. Here's a number counter thing. Cool, that looks good. So now let's see what it does. Let's see what has happened. But we have a problem here. So map form field, sorry, not form control. Getting confused with Bootstrap. So there we go, map form field. Save that, see if it likes it. It does, I believe. So now we have test, and we have an invalid. We have an invalid thing here, so FAS, see if that works. Okay, we'll add like some FA sort. Does that work? Is that a thing? Yeah, cool. So we have an icon. Now it's not a thing. Why is that? App routing module. We need to add it in here to register as a route, I guess. So test, server's ID test. Cool. Test module component. Cool. Let's add that. So now we have test going on. So just ignore it if the form is empty. I think the form's empty because it's not ready yet. So we add ngIf form. Believe it's camel case. Okay, so now it is camel case. Let's add a H1 that says test. Why not? Make it look similar. We can also like copy how I've done it here. Wow. Let's make a heading. Let's make a heading. So test. And then let's copy this within the form, I guess, because it has an enabled property. There we go. So, form control name enabled, that is good. Now that adds it there. So do we want that? We want it to be a container here. There we go. Cool. So obviously if this goes below 0, which is specified here, then it's going to complain. And this is also required, so 0, and it has a min length of 3, so we have nothing and it complains. We have 3 and it doesn't complain. Cool. Now if we save, it actually submits, and then when we refresh, it actually works.